Welcome back to Crochet by Night. Tonight we're going to work on this beautiful snowy pine scarf. The snowy pine scarf is made in an alternate mosaic stitch. Basically you just use single crochets throughout. In the beginning stitch and the ending stitch you use a full single crochet. In the stitches in between, you only do a back loop only. Then it also utilizes a double crochet. I'm going to show you how this is done. I used a chart that I created. You can kind of see the chart that I created to follow. This scarf was made with Hunter Green Red Heart Super Saver, and I'm going to use my scraps to show you a sample today on how to make it. And then it's also, I used the impeccable yarn, which I got from Loops and Threads that I got at Michael's. So just use the colors that you have that you would like to make this out of. The green, of course, I made for my trees, and then the white for the snowy background. This scarf measures right at 6 3/4 wide, between 6.5 maybe wide. It measures approximately 74 inches long. Now I made this scarf so that I made it into a scarf for Christmas, but I also am using it as one of the pieces of my woodland afghan mosaic afghan that I'm creating. And so there are multiple uses from this. The piece that I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you just how to crochet this one pattern. If you want to make the scarf, you will repeat this pattern. So your beginning foundation chain would be 183. Keep in mind the very first stitch and the very last stitch don't count on your pattern. They are used as a guide to keep your edges straight. The beginning and the ending stitch both are made with a full single crochet under both loops. So I'm also using a 6mm crochet hook. We're going to start by creating a foundation chain. If you're doing the full scarf, you are going to chain 183. If you're doing just a sample like I'm doing, crochet 33. So that's 30 for the pattern, 1 for the beginning stitch, 1 for the ending stitch, and 1 for your turning chain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So once you have your 33 chains, or if you're doing the full scarf, your 183 chains, you're going to flip your work. You're going to skip this first stitch, and you're going to single crochet into the next stitch and all the stitches all the way down. I'm single crocheting under the back bump of every stitch all the way down the chain. When you get to the end of the row, you're going to need your scissors handy, because you're going to cut the yarn, leaving some tail there, fringe for the end of your scarf, and you're going to chain 1 and pull it through. So for my sample piece, this is what I have right now. Since I skipped the first stitch, that should leave me 32 stitches. Now I'm going to get my green, and I'm going to start back down here. And I'm going to insert my hook under the loops of the first stitch. And I'm going to give myself some tail there for fringe, and I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet a full single crochet in that first stitch. And then next we're going to insert our hook in the back loop only. If you're looking at the stitch, you're seeing this front loop right here, and you're seeing this back loop right here. You're going to insert your hook under that back loop only and complete a single crochet. And you're going to do that in the back loop only of every stitch all the way down until you get to the very last stitch. In the very last stitch, you're going to put a full crochet under both loops of the stitch. So go ahead and put your back loop only single crochet all the way down the row. When I get to my very last stitch, I'm going to stop and count and make sure I have the correct number. For my sample piece here, for just doing the pattern one time, I should have 1 double crochet in the first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and then I should have 30 back loop only single crochets, and then I should have 1 more full double crochet under both loops of the hook, and then I'm going to chain 1. If you are doing the full scarf, you would have a regular single crochet in the first stitch. You would have 180 back loop onlys, and then you would have 1 more regular single crochet in the last stitch. When you get to that end, you're going to clip your yarn, leaving you enough for fringe if you're making this into a scarf. I'm going to chain 1 and pull tight. Pull it through and pull it tight. Okay, we're going to switch back to our white. And we're going to go under both loops of the next stitch. I'm going to leave me some tail there. Yarn over, pull up a loop, make a chain just to secure that, and then right back in that same stitch you're going to put a single crochet. Now we're on the second row, and you can see on my chart here, it doesn't matter what color block you have, you work back loop single crochets in every one unless there's an X in it or unless it says SC. SC means do a full single crochet, and you'll see that at the beginning and the end of the pattern. If it's blank, you just do a back loop single crochet. If there's an X in it, you do a double crochet and you drop that double crochet down, you skip that next one and you drop it down into 2 rows below. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're on row 2, and on row 2 there are no double crochets. Row 2 we're going to do the single crochet in the first stitch under both loops, then we're going to do all the back loop single crochets, and then we're going to do a final single crochet in that last stitch. I'm going to put that full single crochet. I'm going to cut a tail, and I'm going to pull it all the way through. So this is what it should look like so far. So get your green, and you're going to insert your hook under both loops of that first stitch. It's your beginning stitch. You're going to chain 1 and complete 1 full single crochet in that first stitch. Okay, so now we get to start doing some other things to form the pattern. We're on row 3, and row 3 says, we're gonna, and we always start to the right from this corner, kind of like you would corner to corner, only you just go down each row. So row 3 says to do your single crochet in the beginning stitch, which we did, and then it says 2 back loop only single crochets, and we know that because there's nothing in either one of those boxes. And then we're going to put a double crochet, and we're going to drop it down. So let's start with our 2 back loop only single crochets. There's 1 and 2, and then we're going to do that drop down double. So instead of using this stitch, we're going to drop down to this green stitch underneath it, and you'll notice they kind of look a little bit catty-cornered, but this is the one you could count and see. This is the one that you use. So you're going to yarn over, and you're going to put your hook up under that top loop. See, we left all those top loops. And you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That creates your drop down double. Okay, so the pattern now says to complete 10 back loop only single crochets. We know that because there are no X's in any of these boxes. It doesn't matter if they're gray, it doesn't matter if they're white. We're just looking for an X or no X. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 back loop only single crochets. So there's 1, 2, and make sure you're not accidentally getting the one behind that we skipped behind the double crochet, because then that would give you an increase, and you don't want that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now the chart says, chart pattern, it's the same basic thing. One has words, the other has symbols. Tells me to put 4 double crochet drop downs. So I'm going to put 4 double crochet drop downs. And I'm going to come right down here to the stitch below, and I'm going to do 1, to the next one, 2, 3, and 4. So now I have 4 double crochet drop downs in a row. That starts forming the trunk or the base of my tree. Now it tells me, the chart tells me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It tells me I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 more back loop only single crochets. So we want to count back here 1, 2, 3, 4 to make sure we're not accidentally getting in the wrong stitch. And we're going to put 10 back loop only single crochets. Okay, then the chart tells me to put 1 drop down double. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to find the stitch, not the white stitch in white, but the stitch in green, the same color, 2 rows below, and I'm going to come up under that stitch, and I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and then I'm going to complete my double crochet, which should leave me 3 should leave me 2 stitches and my last stitch. So 1, 2, so those 2 stitches are back loop onlys, and my last stitch is a single crochet under both loops. So let's talk about something for just a moment. If you are completing this pattern, if you're completing it as a scarf, and you are doing this pattern, so right now I'm only doing this piece. You would repeat this 6 times. You're going to stop the video, and you're going to complete that same row, the same pattern over and over 6 times. You just won't repeat the beginning and ending stitch. It'll only be done once. Once you get your single crochet in, and you're at the end of that row, you're going to leave some tail, leave you a length for your fringe, and there you have it. So let's move on to the next row. I hope this is making sense to you. I know without the chart, sometimes it's a little hard. So I'm kind of trying to go down the chart for you. Okay, so on row 4, we're back to using white. We're going to put our hook under both loops of that first stitch. And you're going to complete a chain to kind of lock you in, and then you're going to put a single crochet right back into that same stitch. And then immediately you're going to put a double crochet drop down. So yarn over, find that first front loop 2 rows down. Put your hook under that, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's your first drop down double. Your next stitch is just a back loop only single. As is the next 2. So that gives you a total of 3 back loop only singles. So you had a drop down double, 3 back loop singles, and now you're going to have 2 drop down doubles. So there's 1 and 2. So you can start seeing how the white is forming the snowy background. Next, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 18 back loop onlys. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now you're going to have 1 drop down double. There you, just like that. So there's 1. And 2. And then 3 back loop onlys, and I'm going to hold that drop. I'm going to look behind my stitches, and I'm going to see those 2 that I skipped because I had my drop down doubles, and I'm going to hold those kind of together so I'm not crocheting in the wrong stitch. So I have 3 back loop onlys, 1 drop down double, 1 drop down double, and then for those of you completing this full scarf, you're going to, before you finish that last stitch, you're going to jump back to the front and you're going to complete however many you need. So, and then at your very last stitch, you'll put a single crochet. So when you get to the end of this row, you're going to finish it off by doing 1 full single crochet, chaining 1, cutting your yarn and pulling it through and pulling it tight. Okay, we're moving on to row 5. So we're going to take our green, we're going to insert our hook underneath the both loops of the first stitch, chain 1, and then put a full single crochet back in there. Okay, row 5 says to put 2 back loop only single crochets, so there's 1 and 2, and then it tells me to put a drop down double. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to go all the way down. You can see here we're skipping the white row and we're going into that green 2 rows below. So you can see how it pulled it up. Now we're going to put 3 back loop onlys, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18 drop down doubles in a row. So this is starting to form the tree. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to find the front loop of the stitch below, 2 rows below, and you're going to put a drop down double. You're going to do that a total of 18 times. So there's 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's 9 drop down doubles, 10 drop down doubles. I kind of feel like the count from Sesame Street. Ha ha ha, 11 drop down doubles, 12 drop down doubles. Have you ever seen Sesame Street? 13 drop down doubles, 14 drop down doubles, 15 drop down doubles, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, so now the chart says 3 back loop onlys. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then it says 1 drop down double, and then 2 back loop onlys, and then you guys that are finishing this as a scarf, go ahead and complete the pattern however many times you need it, and then when you get to your ending stitch, you make a full single crochet underneath both loops, chain 1, and cut your work. Cut your string, cut your yarn, fasten off. Okay, so here's what it's looking like so far. Moving on to row 6, put your hook under both loops. Make sure to leave you some yarn there. Leave you a tail so that way if you're going to put fringe, you have that. Single crochet, and then, okay, so row 6 has 2 drop down doubles. So there's 1, and you can see that one's in line with the one that was previously there, and then 2. So now we're going to put 1 back loop only, and then 3 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So now the pattern calls for 18 back loop onlys. 1, 2, and 18. So we had 18 back loop onlys. And then we're going to have 3 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then, excuse me, and then we have 1 back loop only, and 2 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and that leaves, if you're just doing one of the pattern, that leaves 1 stitch left to your ending stitch. If you're completing the scarf, go ahead and complete the number of pattern repeats you need to repeat till you get to your end, and then complete a full single crochet in the last stitch. Chain 1 and cut your yarn. Okay, we're coming up on row 7. Row 7 is in your green color again. Pull the yarn through, chain 1, and then put a full single crochet in that same stitch. On row 7, we're going to have 7 back loop onlys. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 16 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 16. So after your 16 drop down doubles, you have 7 back loop onlys. 1, 5, 6, and 7. For those of you completing the scarf, go ahead and do your pattern repeats. And then at your last stitch, 1 full single crochet, 1 chain, flip your yarn, and pull through. I get so excited when I see the pattern forming. Just tickles me pink. Okay, row 8. I will tell you, this is the first time, this project's the first time I'd use this Loops and Threads white yarn, and I'm not really very fond of it. It's really, it kind of splits on you, and I don't know, it's just not, it's not spun very tight, so it makes everything look kind of loosey-goosey. But I'm going to do this again. When I show you my woodland Afghan, this pattern's in it, but it's not made with this yarn. It's made with a different yarn, and you're going to love it, I think. So I hope you tune in for that later on. Alright, so for row 8, we're putting our first full single crochet in the first stitch, our beginning stitch. And then we're going to drop down double 7. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Next you're going to have 16 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 15, and 16. Now we're going to have 7 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, 6, and 7. That should get us up to our ending stitch. For those of you completing more than one of the pattern in a row, go ahead and do that. And then get to your ending stitch and put a full single crochet. And chain 1. Clip your yarn. And fasten off. This is what we should have so far. On the 9th row, we're back to using our green, or whatever your color is, your color B. And I tell you what, a friend of mine who's been helping pattern test, she said I printed the pattern up, and she said I don't like trying to remember to go back over and over. She said I printed it off 7 times, and I taped it together from here all the way down, and she said I had this really long chart, and then I went through and marked each stitch as I did them. But that's her. I'm not quite as disciplined as that, but she did a great job in pattern testing for me, and I really appreciate her. So, okay, so on to the next row. Okay, on row 9, I'm going to insert a hook, chain 1, put a single crochet back in the same stitch, and then we're going to do 8 back loop onlys. So there's 1, 2, we need 14 drop down doubles. One, 2, 13, and 14. Now we need 8 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, and 8. That gets you up to your last stitch if you're only doing one of the patterns. If you're doing multiples, go ahead and finish that out, and then get to your last stitch and put a single crochet and fasten off. Okay, on row 10, insert your hook in the first stitch, yarn over, make sure you pull you some string out there for your fringe, chain 1, and then single crochet back in the same stitch. Row 10 starts with 4 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 1 back loop single crochet, 3 drop down doubles, 1, 2, and 3, 14 back loop only single crochets. I'm going to make sure we're not getting one behind our drop down doubles, so I'm just double checking. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Next we have 3 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. One back loop only single crochet, and 4 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you get to your last stitch, you're going to put a full single crochet in there, chain 1, and fasten off. Okay, on row 11, we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, chain 1, that brings your yarn, hooks your yarn on, and then we're going to single crochet under both loops of that first stitch. On row 11, we then put in 4 back loop single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 1 drop down double. And then 4 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to place 12 drop down doubles in a row. So there's 1, 2, 11, and 12. Whoops, that's and 12. Okay, there we go, and 12. And then 4 back loop onlys. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 drop down double. You're going to catch this, see there's only 1 stitch in between there. Catch that and pull that. There we go. And then 4 back loop onlys. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in your last stitch, you can see it there, your last stitch, you're going to place 1 single crochet under both loops. Chain 1, clip you off some yarn, leaving enough for fringe, and tie it off. Okay, so we're looking great. I will tell you that the second crosses, so you see the cross pattern here, and our second crosses are inset, and then our last crosses are back out. A friend of mine said, why didn't you put them all in a line? And I said, because to me it gives, to inset them a little bit, gives you a little visual interest. And then if you wanted to continue this and make a blanket out of this entire one full blanket out of this instead of just a scarf, or instead of just a scarf, you could, it'll look really cool with those inset crosses, snowflakes. I don't know what you want to call them. I think they look like plus signs, cross signs. But it's just to give some visual interest to our snowy pine tree. Okay, so we're on, grab your color A. We are on row 12. With row 12, begin with placing your beginning single crochet. Oops, let's make sure you can see it. Placing your single crochet. Okay, 3 drop down doubles. There's 1, 2, and 3. 3 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. 3 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and 3. 12 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, and 12. 3 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and 3. 3 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 3 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and 3. And then your last full single crochet, chain 1, clip your clip your yarn. There you go. Okay, row 13. You start with your beginning single crochet, chain 1, place a single crochet back in the same stitch. You're going to have 4 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 drop down double. 1, 5 back loop only single crochets. It's 2, 3, 4, and 5. 10 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and 10. 5 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 drop down double, and 4 back loop only single crochets. And then place your final single crochet in that last stitch. Row 14, we're going to start by putting a single crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, single crochet back to the same stitch, and we're going to put 4 drop down doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we started with 4 drop down doubles, and then 1 back loop only single crochet, and then 5 drop down doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ten back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 10. 5 drop down doubles. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Your 5th one might be kind of over underneath that, so you just have to pull it apart if it is. 1 back loop only single crochet, and 4 drop down doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Single crochet in your last stitch. Chain 1 and fasten off. Okay, switching back to your other color. Row 15. Start out and you're going to put your beginning single crochet by chaining 1 to hook your yarn and then single crocheting back in that same stitch. You're going to have 11 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 10, and 11. 8 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You're going to have 11 back loop only single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and then you're going to put your last single crochet, full single crochet, chain 1, and fasten off. So now we're moving to row 16. We're getting so close, guys. It looks so good. I can't wait to see what you do with it. You can also, just sew in your ends and put an outside border on it and make all kinds of things with it. You can even put a double border. And in one of the videos coming up, I'm going to show you how to put a double border all the way around. Okay, row 16. Start with our beginning single crochet. Eleven drop down double crochets. 1, 2, 11. 8 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 8, and then 11 drop down doubles. 1, 2, and 11. Finish off with your ending single crochet, chain 1, cut your yarn and tie it off by pulling it all the way through and tightening it up. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay, row 17. We're switching colors. Single crochet in the first stitch. You need 13 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, and 13. You need 4 4 drop down doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then 13 single crochet back loop onlys. 1, 2, 3, and 13. Single crochet in your last stitch, chain 1, clip your yarn, and fasten off. We'll be moving on to row 18. Change your colors again. Start with 3 drop down doubles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. We're going to place 1 back loop only single crochet, 9 drop down doubles, 1, 2, 8, and 9. 4 back loop only single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to place 10 drop down doubles. There's 1, 2, and 10. 1 back loop only single crochet and 2 drop down doubles. There's 1 and 2. We're going to finish off with our ending single crochet, our chain 1, and cutting our yarn, pulling it through. We only have 3 more rows to go, guys. This is so fun. Let's switch colors again. On row 19, attach your yarn with your chain 1, single crochet back in the same space, place 3 back loop only single crochets, 1 drop down double, 10 back loop only single crochets, 2 drop down doubles, 11 back loop only single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 drop down double. 2 back loop only, whoops, got that caught in there, didn't I? 2 back loop only single crochets and a full single crochet in your ending stitch. Chain 1, clip your yarn, and there you have it. Okay, 2 more rows to go. I hope. 2 more rows to go. Okay, I'm getting a little loopy. It's a little late. Please excuse me. Okay, 20. I doubt any of you are old enough to remember Rhoda, that show with Valerie Harper. But tonight I feel like Carlton, your doorman. And for you youngins who don't understand that reference, you can always look that up. But his voice was always so monotone, and he'd say, "This is Carlton, your doorman." Okay, so we've attached our yarn. We're going to complete our beginning single crochet. Anywho, let's start with 2 drop down double crochets. So there's 1 and 2, and then 3 back loop onlys. 1, 2, 3, 9 drop down double crochets. 1, 2 back loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 10 drop down doubles, and 10 should be 3 back loop only single crochets. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1 drop down double, and 1 single crochet in the last stitch. Chain 1, clip your yarn, and tie it off. Okay, switch your yarn again. Chain 1, place a full single crochet in the first stitch. You have 3 back loop only single crochets, and then a drop down double, should be 23 back loop only single crochets, 23, 1 drop down double, 2 back loop only singles, and 1 single, your ending stitch. Okay, so that is all there is on the pattern. I like to come in here, depending upon what I'm doing. If you're making the scarf, you'll come in here and you will tie some ends together so that they don't come undone, making your fringe. Or you can sew in your ends. I like to come in with 1 row of single crochets just to give it some more white at the top. But this is the ending part of the pattern, and you can play with that any way you want to. If you will, please just give me credit for the pattern and for the chart. And I've decided I'm going to link this chart down in the description box so that you can have it for later on. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's been a long one. It's been a long night for me as well, but I sure do appreciate you spending the evening with me. As always, have a good night.